Okay, so now that I've got my two floor plans set out, there's obviously more I can do to fill in those floor plans. And what I will just show you before I go to the next important step, which is to insert the section that you can see there. Before I do that, I will just show you how to draw a door. Since you probably know how to draw them in by hand, I want to show you how to then apply the same approaches to draw them in AutoCAD. So, I've got a wall there, and I'm going to measure. So here, make sure you get into the habit of using that tape measure tool to take measurements in AutoCAD. And I'm just trying to get the distance from the corner of the door to the wall. And I can see there it's about 930. So I'm going to come back now and use offset, and then make that distance, of course, 930. Enter, choose my line, click above, enter. Then I'll go to trim, and I'm going to zoom out so that you can see how long my line is. And anyhow, that's just so you can see it. I'm going to pick it anyway, and then choose the two lines for the two sides of the wall. I'll pick those three lines, then I'm going to press enter. Then I pick where I want to cut them. Oh, now, sorry, I can't pick these. I was going to do them, but I've got to do one more offset before I can do that. And I need to measure that distance as well, so I'll just do that too. So, yeah, 900, I should have known because I drew it. So 900 is a pretty standard small opening. So I'm going to offset 900 from this small line, click above, and then trim. This time, I'm not going to pick any lines. I'm going to press enter, which will let me pick these lines without having to pick edges. So have a go at those two different approaches to using trim. Now I can see here my wall's a bit thinner on this level, and that probably is correct. That's probably the way the building really is. Yeah. But I think maybe, because you'll probably change it, we can leave it like that with the thicker walls. Yeah, so I'll just go on and show you the door. So, do you know how wide a door jamb should be normally?
Isn't it 900 or...
That's the door, that's the opening. Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
But how wide?
Yeah, well, let's go. So, let's say we've got a 900 opening. How big would the door be then? You said it before. You were about to say 820, weren't you? Or maybe you weren't. Yeah, I thought you were going to say 820.
Oh, I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, so the opening's 900, so then the door generally would be 820.
Oh.
So the reason is... Yeah, anyhow, but you're on the right track. So the reason it's 820 is because either side you've got a 40mm wide door jamb. So that's the standard size. If you're ever not sure what size the door jamb should be, if you don't have a measurement, always make it 40mm. That's the standard. Okay, so I'm going to go and make a layer and call it DOR, door, and then set the colour to something that stands out to me, and I'll set the line weight while I'm at it to 0.35, and then I'm going to go and draw my door. So I'm going to draw a line from the corner of the wall up. So I've got ortho on, so it goes straight, and type in 40, enter, and then coming across to the left, this wall's quite thick, it's 400mm, so I'm just going to move the cursor to the left and then type 400, enter, and then come down. So notice how I've lined up the width of the door jamb with the wall. Now, do you think that's how the door would be built in real life?
Probably not.
Definitely not, no. Have a look at the door over here. See how the door jamb's only about that wide, and the wall's much wider. So that's the way it normally is, but it's a bit of a drawing convention that if you just want to show it with a conceptual look, that's the way you do it. So I'm going to do the same on the other side. So drawing a line from the corner at the top, down 40, across 400, and then back to the wall. So now I'm going to draw another line from the corner where the door hinge should be. And I come across to the left, 820. Enter. So that's my door, that line. We can give it thickness later if we need to, but I'm just going to leave it as a line for now. So then I need to draw the door swing. The rest of it you could probably have worked out, but the door swing is a good little option there. So I'm making another layer. I'm going to call it door swing. And I'm just going to make the colour a different shade of yellow or orange, so it reads well on the screen. And then the line weight, I'm going to make a nice light line weight. So 0.15 or 0.13 is good. I think 0.13 here. And I'll make a current layer. Okay, so then to draw that arc for the door swing, you of course use the arc tool, and you'll see there's this great option, start, centre, end. So that's generally what you need for door swings. So try to remember that one, start, centre, end. And then, so I'm meant to take a screensaver, so I'll just do that now. Okay, so again, we start, centre, end. You click the start point first. That's going to be where the latch would be, where the door closes. Then you choose the centre, which is where the hinge would be. And then you choose the end of your door. And that will give you a perfect door swing every time, just like drawing with a compass in real life. That's it, yeah.
thought there were actually blocks.
Oh, there are.
Oh, there are?
There are plenty of blocks for doors, yep, and you can use those. But they sometimes have things you don't want, or not enough. And it's such a simple thing to be able to draw that you can just draw them on the fly, and then you can make your own blocks as well for your own types
How
of
do you
doors.
do blocks, if you don't mind showing?
Yeah, sure. So it's this button here, create.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So you just choose what you want. It's easy. So that's what I want to be a block, and then create, and there we are. It's ready to go. I just need to give it a name. So yeah, making blocks is easy. So there we are. So I've got enough now to start setting out my section, which is really what I wanted to focus on. So I'm just going to make a start on it though, and then you'll be able to hopefully finish it over the holidays. So going to insert again, and then attach again, and then this time we'll get page 4. Double click, change the scale to 100, OK, and then I'll just place it above. Right, so now you can see the section there. We'll do the elevation much later. And so I'm going to go to my layers and make some more layers for what I need to see in the section. So probably the most important is the floor. So let's call it floor. Change the colour. And, okay, so what material do you think the floor would be made from?
Wood? Or timber?
It probably is concrete, horrible old concrete, yeah. Yeah, but maybe the upper level floor could be wood, but no, I'm pretty sure it's concrete though. And it's good to think about this. Don't fall into the bad habit of a lot of previous generations of just using concrete because it's easy. It's actually a horrible material for the environment. It's probably one of the most damaging materials ever used.
Honestly, I don't even think it looks nice.
No, it's not.
It doesn't look
But it's been so overused by modernist architects for the last 100 years that people, convinced themselves that it was a good material. But it's actually got lots of issues. So don't just use concrete unless you really need to. So I just want to point that out. I'm always on about the environment for design because it's a big thing. And did you see all that stuff in the news about the composite stone, manufactured stone, killing people?
Yeah, that's so sad. That's so
Yep.
young.
Yep. I know, it's horrible. It's going to be banned.
It's like been
It is. Yep. So it will be banned. So, get out of the habit of specifying that if you can. I stopped specifying it 15 years ago, but a lot of people still do. And I keep telling them it's a terrible material, but they keep using it. So, yeah, that's right. So, yeah, good to think about your materials as you do your drawings. And so, again, I've got my floor layer, and I made it green because green is the standard colour for concrete. And then the line weight, I'm going to make heavy, just like my walls. I'll make it 0.5. Okay, so then I'm going to draw a line from the side of this image, just lined up with where the top of that floor would be. Alright, so then coming across all the way to the right, I'll take it past the image on the other side. So then, Zooming in here, we can see how high the floor on the next level is. So I'm going to offset now what it says, 4120. Select my line, then click above. And then, before I even worry about offsetting those lines to get my floor thickness, I'm going to start projecting lines from the floor plan. And that's the key idea here. When you're drawing sections and elevations from a plan, always project from what you've drawn already. Don't double your work by trying to work it all out again. So here I'm going to draw a line from the corner of one of my walls from here and bring it up, and then it should line up with the section, but it doesn't.
Yeah, the rope centered on the page.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's what.
Exactly, yeah, they're not lined up. When I drew them originally, they were lined up perfectly, but when they've been reduced to fit on A3, they've been moved around a bit. So it's a good chance for us now to adjust that and line them up again. So that's the next thing. So what I'm going to do is just draw another line from the front to see if it's the same there. It should be. You know, this one is kind of lined up. Anyhow, so I'll just do that. And I'll draw another one from the, well, here, notice the section line cuts through this part of the wall. So I'm going to draw a line. You have to use a bit of judgment here, but I'm going to draw a line from where the section line cuts the wall, but I'll start just below. Why do you think I've done that instead of just starting right here? It's because if I try and draw from the line, it might snap to the wrong point. Yeah, that's right, that's it. So it's better to draw it starting on one side of the line so you don't snap to it. So I'm going to come up now and see where this is. Yeah. So it is actually lined up reasonably well at the front. So I'm going to keep it where it is. Because remember, we shortened the building. So I think the back, it has been scaled off a little bit. But it's good enough for us. So also what I'm going to do is check the measurement there and just see. Now that's right. So the scale's not off. I don't know how that's happened. But it's not such a problem because, remember, with sections, you're not trying to get horizontal measurements. You're only trying to get heights. So the important thing here is that our vertical measurements are all lined up and correct. But if things are slightly off working across horizontally, that's okay. So I'm just going to keep drawing lines now from the floor plan, projecting up from those walls and see how it lines up with what we can see in the section. And that's good enough. Because again, remember, we're not going to take those horizontal measurements from the section. So I'll give you some time to try this in a minute, but I just want to put one of the last main element in, and then there's one other element. But the last main element is the ceiling. So I'll make a new layer again, just call it ceiling. And I'll change the line colour to match the material, what I think the material probably would be. What do you think the material would be for the ceiling, normally?
Concrete again, isn't it?
Probably not.
Or
No. No? Gyprock, yeah, probably gyprock or plasterboard. Yeah, that's right.
Oh.
Yeah. There could be exposed concrete, possibly, but, and you're right, actually, I think there would be exposed concrete on the lower level, but otherwise, yeah, it'd be plasterboard. So I'll just set it to the colour for plasterboard, which is this sort of, can be this sort of lavender colour. And I'll make the line weight heavy, but not as heavy as before. I'm going to make it 0.35 instead of 0.5. Okay, so just like before, I'll take a measurement from the section, from this line here, and take it down, maybe just to measure to the line of the floor. So it's 4930. It says 4931. I'm rounding it off to 4930. You might just round it off to 4900 if you want it. In fact, I'll just do that, 4,900. You'll lose the 30 mil, but big deal. So 4,900. Offsetting my floor line, I'll click above, and then change that new line to my ceiling layer. Okay, and then I'll do the same thing on the level below. So 3547, let's say 3550. Okay. So now, just to finish this off, I'll offset maybe a line or two from the floors. So they're 300, which is much thicker than they would be in real life. But I knew that when I was drawing it. Okay, that's not as thick, that one, so let's say it's probably 200 is what it's drawn. In real life it'll probably be 150, but let's make it 200 and that's going to line up. There we are.
So if we move that all around, should we make it, can we make it smaller, or is 300 the standard for?
No, not at all. No, so an upper level concrete floor slab, like a suspended slab, would normally be at most in a building like this about 150.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's
Is
just
that
been
with
drawn
the
extra thick.
drop underneath?
No, that's just the concrete part.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think I just drew it thicker than it is in real life because we had the ceiling bulkhead underneath it. And actually, maybe, sorry, because we might, I'm just trying to remember what we did here, but I don't think we had integrated beams, so that's why it's probably a thickened slab. So it could be a bit thicker than normal. But you can, if you want to, go down to 150. Yeah. So 300 is a very thick slab, and I doubt it would be that. Even a thickened slab for a building like this, again, the 300 might be what it is in real life because they did it a long time ago, but you could probably take it down to 200 if you just want to have the slab without any beams.
Okay.
And that'll just span the whole distance, and then you don't need to worry about beams or anything.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So, so the final thing I want to show you is how to get the line weights to read correctly. So, okay, so remember these walls that are being cut from the section. So maybe to make it clear, I'll make a line for the section. So I'll make a new layer called sect. Or we could even go the whole hog and call it section. I'll just change the colour to maybe a blue sort of colour. So you can see it on this projector. I'll make it a bit lighter. And yeah, I'll leave the line weight at that. So I'll draw a line across, which is always good practice, to have a line that marks where the section cuts through your plan. And I'm then going to copy that line onto the next floor plan, also onto the one below. Right, so can you see how now I can draw lines for my walls where that section line intersects. Right, so it just makes it easier to project off your plan to draw what you need for the section. So that's a really good thing to think about. And so then, notice this line here projects from the corner. So, think about what you're looking at there. That's the ceiling. So we wouldn't really need to see that wall line above the ceiling. The ceiling is going to cover the wall at that point. So I'll go to trim and select that ceiling line, enter, and then choose the top of the wall line. And then back to trim, I'm going to choose these two lines for my floor, and then the top of the lower floor. Enter, and then I'll trim this back. So I just want to trim back at least one thing so I can show you how it should look in the end. Yeah, and I'll trim it to the ceiling later. Okay, so have you looked at lines in projection or in elevation? So when you're drawing a section or in elevation, you'll see there are things that are heavy because they're being cut. Right, so these two lines from the wall, they're being cut by the section line. So they're heavy. But these two lines, they're for the corner of the wall that's behind the cut plane. So they're not being cut. So, to show them correctly, I need to go and make another layer. So I'll call it walls, just to keep it simple, walls light. And I'm going to change the line weight of that to, again, a nice light line weight. Maybe a little bit heavier than what I did for the door string, so 0.18 maybe. And again, just so it's easier to read on the screen, I'll change the colour. Okay, so then I'm going to change those two lines to my new walls light layer. And then I might just turn off the section so you can see it all. So I'm just putting the image onto the section layer. The image layer. Okay, so can you see how that now reads as these walls being behind the cut plane and then these walls being cut? Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So maybe I can even tidy it up a bit more just to make it easier to read. So I'll go back and use trim now, enter, trim, and so I'll pick this line as my cutting edge, and then I'll trim back the floors and the ceiling to that line. Yeah, I'll even do these. Right, so that just makes it easier to read, and you can start to maybe see how it's coming together. And then the rest you can just keep on projecting. So maybe that's a good thing for you to work out as you project from the plan. You'll see how the section then comes together. Putting that together with the heights you get from the section image, that should give you everything you need. And little bits of detail like this part of the parapet. And there is a name for that, but I've forgotten it. These funny things here. You could just trace those. So on the walls light layer, I will just trace them. And if you really want to be tricky, you can put arcs in there, but again, because it's existing, I will just trace it with lines, and it's going to be good enough. So, something like that. And then mirror, the other side. Yep.
What does the file type have to be to import?
Oh, JPEG. Yeah. And so then, remember, lots of older buildings are made up of classical geometry, or what's the word for it? Anyhow, primitive geometry, circles, lines and arcs and rectangles. Yeah, primitive is one word for them, and then there's another one, ideal geometry. That's the Renaissance word for these things. And there's a real science to it that they worked out with these original forms. That it's very different to organic geometry, which is what they used in Gothic architecture, which was kind of the opposite to the classical things happening at about the same time. So most 19th century buildings are actually based on classical geometry, not Gothic geometry, which was a bit different, even though there are Gothic revival buildings from that era as well. But it means that when you see something like this, you generally can assume it's based on something like a circle, and you don't need to make it too complicated. You can just draw circles and then get the... Exactly, that's it. Yep, yep, that's it. And, one of my favourite architects, who most people don't even think of as an architect, Michelangelo, how'd you know? I obviously was hey? Yeah, I repeat myself. Yeah. And it's good that he's coming back because people, only were interested in Leonardo, and he was a genius, of course, but For me, Michelangelo was actually the more influential artist and designer, and his painting is just mind-blowing. But if you're interested in that. And yeah, it was, exactly, yeah. If you've seen St. Peter's Basilica, that's, I think, one of the greatest buildings of all time. And yeah, he doesn't get all the credit for it, because the bit out the front with the columns was done by someone else, whose name I always forget. You know, the curving colonnades?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That was someone later. And who was just, you know, a genius as well, probably, but anyhow, he's the one they always remember. And, well, Michelangelo, who, of course, everyone knows, but he doesn't get the credit that he should for that. So, there we are. So that's a quick way of getting the bit of the parapet. But don't get too bogged down with the existing details. I don't want you to focus on that.
What? Can I ask why you would put the second one there when you're not cutting through it? If it's like a sectional elevation, why would you put just
Oh, that one, that is, there are a few. So this one is still behind the cut plane.
Oh,
Yeah, if you look at the elevation down here, right, so it's the section's cutting through there. Yeah. But you're right, no, normally, yeah, you want to think about that, and these two wouldn't be seen on the left, yeah. So anyhow, so you can finish that off, hopefully, and so make sure you realise there's another floor level here where it steps down. So maybe the final, I promise this will be the final thing to show you, maybe it will make it easier if you trim back the floor before you go to do the next one. And again, make sure you measure.
You wouldn't do that there though, because there's the in the terrace. But yeah.
Oh, yeah, so you're not going to have the terrace down at this level. You're going to keep the terrace up at the high level. Or is that what? Because that's not the way it is in real life. Oh no, so this, the open air terrace, sorry, that is, yeah, they changed it. Okay, so in real life it's not like that. No, sorry, okay, let's just, yeah, in real life it does, yeah. But no, let's just, yeah, this is all made, you know, people have changed the drawings to make it a better design exercise. So, yeah, so then if they've done that, just keep it all the same. That's okay.
That makes so much more sense though.
Yeah.
Because otherwise that's such a waste of space, having that cavity between them.
Yeah. But in a way it's good if you do just say, right, I'm going to raise the whole floor level, and so that way the lower part doesn't need to have the low ceiling.
Yeah.
So you can have a raised ceiling at the back and then just carry that floor level all the way through. Makes it simpler construction, even though it could be kind of nice to have the stepping down. But, yeah, definitely be simpler for you to have it one level. And then, as part of your design, you could say that you want to change it, but to start with, that'll be easier. So hopefully that's enough for you to be able to go on and do what you need then to start, you know, doing your design drawings. That's it, so I'll finish there.